The Laconian landscape was a formidable barrier. Rugged mountains, deep valleys, and a pervasive need for secrecy made conventional long-distance signaling, such as fire beacons, a dangerous proposition for the Spartans. Smoke or flame could alert enemies as easily as allies. The challenge was to transmit critical intelligence across this unforgiving topography without betraying the messenger's presence. This presented a complex mechanical problem for an ancient military. For secure, localized dispatches, the Spartan system often relied on a device known as the skytale. This was not a visual signaling tool, but a cryptographic apparatus. Its primary function was to ensure the integrity and secrecy of written commands between officers or scouting parties. The skytale served as an early form of mechanical encryption, allowing a sender to transmit a message that was unreadable to unauthorized intercepts. The skytale itself was deceptively simple, a cylindrical staff, usually wooden, of a specific diameter. Both the sender and the receiver possessed staffs of identical circumference. To encode a message, a strip of parchment or leather was wrapped spirally around the sender's staff. The text was then written lengthwise along the wrapped strip. Upon unwrapping, the letters appeared scrambled and unintelligible. The effective use of the skytale required a disciplined human system. Spartan crypts or advanced scouting units would carry these critical components. Their training included not only physical endurance and stealth, but also precise adherence to communication protocols. Mastery of this skytale was a specialized skill, essential for transmitting time-sensitive orders or intelligence without compromising operational security. To decode a skytale message, the recipient needed the matching staff. The received strip of parchment was then rewrapped precisely around their identical cylinder. Only when the strip was aligned correctly would the jumbled letters reform into a coherent message. This mechanical reassembly process was the key to its security, rendering any intercepted message useless without the specific decoding key. While the skytale offered secure written communication, its physical transfer limited speed and range, making it unsuitable for immediate, widespread signaling across vast mountain ranges. For broader, quicker alerts without fire, the Spartan mechanism turned to other sensory inputs. The constraint remained how to project a signal across kilometers without revealing the sender's position to hostile observers. Alternative methods focused on precise auditory or constrained visual cues. Horn blasts, using specific patterns of sound, could transmit pre-arranged messages through valleys, relying on acoustics rather than visibility. Similarly, specific flag movements or mirrored reflections, when conditions allowed, offered a minimal visual signature. These required extensive training and clear line-of-sight conditions. The primary non-fire, long-range signaling mechanism relied on acoustical projection. Spartan scouts utilized specialized animal horns designed to produce distinct, far-carrying tones. These instruments, essentially primitive trumpets, had no valves, meaning their sound was controlled by the player's embouchure and breath. The mechanical simplicity belied the complex communication system it enabled across diverse terrains. A codified system of horn calls was established. This was not a random sequence, but a precise auditory alphabet of varying durations, intervals, and repetitions. A short blast followed by a long one might indicate the training of a Spartan scout in auditory signaling was rigorous, integrated into the agouge from an early age. Recruits learned not just how to produce the calls, but also how to discern them amidst natural sounds, wind, animal noises, and the echoes of mountain passes. This required acute hearing and precise memory, essential for accurate transmission and reception. Line-of-sight visual communication, when feasible, employed polished bronze shields or small, reflective surfaces. These implements were used to flash sunlight in prearranged patterns, similar to a modern heliograph. The challenges were significant: dependence on clear weather, specific sun angles, and the inherent risk of the flash being observed by unintended parties. Precision and discipline were paramount. The deployment of these signaling systems was a logistical exercise. Scouts were positioned at strategic mountain passes or elevated points, often in pairs to ensure redundancy and accurate observation. Their locations were chosen not just for optimal line of sight or sound projection, but also for concealment. The scout's role was to be unseen and unheard until their signal was required. Unlike the sprawling fire beacon networks of empires like Persia, which conveyed simple alerts over vast distances. The Spartan system emphasized localized, secure, and nuanced communication. The Persian system prioritized speed of a generalized message, whereas the Spartans needed precise, encrypted intelligence without revealing troop movements or positions. Their small numbers necessitated this stealth. The Spartan approach prioritized concealment and information security over raw transmission speed. A skytale messenger, though slower, delivered an uncompromised tactical order. A carefully orchestrated series of horn blasts, while limited in range, could convey immediate danger or troop presence with minimal risk of enemy interception or misinterpretation, a critical mechanical advantage in irregular warfare. The operational context for Spartan scouts differed fundamentally from their peers. Athenian signaling often involved naval communication via specific flag sequences or light signals between ships, visible across open water. These systems were designed for immediate, broad alerts across a relatively predictable environment. Spartan needs, however, were rooted in land-based skirmishes and maintaining secrecy in contested territories. The inherent trade-off was clear. The Spartan mechanical systems for signaling were slower and more localized than the grand beacon chains of other empires, yet offered unparalleled security and precision in environments where stealth was paramount. This was a direct reflection of their strategic posture, favoring small elite units and deceptive tactics over mass mobilization and overt communication. Despite their initial effectiveness, these Spartan signaling systems harbored inherent rigidities that would later contribute to their decline. The reliance on highly specialized human agents and specific, often rare, meteorological conditions limited scalability. A dense fog or a heavy rain rendered visual signals useless, and strong winds could distort auditory messages, introducing critical points of failure. The demographic strain on Sparta's shrinking citizen body also impacted the efficacy of these intricate communication networks. As the number of fully trained homoioi declined, so did the pool of individuals capable of mastering the complex skytale protocols, horn calls, and heliograph operations. This placed immense pressure on a diminishing expert class, making the system less resilient. Furthermore, the dependence on perioikoi or helots for supporting roles in logistics and reconnaissance introduced a critical vulnerability. While some might have been trained for basic tasks, the core, secure signaling expertise remained with the citizens. Any disaffection among the non-citizen population could compromise intelligence flow, weakening the entire communication apparatus from within. The Spartan societal structure, resistant to innovation, also played a part in the eventual obsolescence of their signaling methods. While other states adapted to new technologies and expanded their communication infrastructures, Sparta remained largely static. The mechanisms that served them well in the archaic period struggled to meet the demands of an increasingly complex and interconnected Hellenistic world. The mechanical rigidity and lack of adaptable evolution meant that Spartan signaling, once a pinnacle of secure communication, became a bottleneck. Their methods were designed for a specific type of warfare that was slowly fading. This inability to integrate new signaling technologies or expand existing ones ultimately hindered their strategic flexibility and accelerated their relative decline against evolving adversaries. The Peloponnesian War, a protracted and shifting conflict, began to expose the inherent limitations of Sparta's signaling architecture. While effective for small-scale, stealth operations, the method struggled with the demands of coordinating larger alliances and responding to swift naval maneuvers. The lack of rapid, adaptable communication contributed to strategic missteps, particularly when confronted with the dynamic, multi-front nature of the conflict. Sparta's decentralized command structure, coupled with restricted communication, created bottlenecks. Unlike the emerging unified commands of other states, Spartan harmists and navarchs often operated with significant autonomy and slow information feedback. This institutional design, while fostering individual initiative, became a liability when quick synchronized responses across vast distances were required against a more agile foe. The reliance on physical messengers for skytale dispatches meant that crucial orders could be delayed by days or even weeks depending on the terrain and distance. In an era where military advantage increasingly hinged on timely intelligence and coordinated movements, this mechanical lag became a critical strategic disadvantage. Battles could be lost before critical information even reached its intended recipient. Moreover, the limited range and environmental vulnerability of auditory and heliograph signals meant that effective communication was highly localized. A storm or dense fog could completely sever a communication chain, leaving outposts isolated. This inherent fragility contrasted sharply with the robustness required for maintaining a coherent defense or mounting large-scale offensives across varied geographic zones. The evolving nature of Hellenistic warfare, with its larger armies, more complex siege engines, and sophisticated logistics, demanded more robust and versatile communication. Spartan methods, designed for an earlier epoch of limited engagements and surprise tactics, proved ill-suited for the era of professional armies and integrated combined arms operations. The mechanical system was simply not scalable. This communication rigidity contributed to Sparta's eventual isolation and reduced influence. As other city-states and emerging empires developed more comprehensive and adaptable signaling networks, Sparta's insular and restrictive approach left them increasingly disconnected. Their once formidable secrecy became a barrier to effective engagement with a changing world, undermining their broader strategic position. The decline was not instantaneous, but a slow erosion of strategic capability. The very mechanisms that once ensured security, the skytale's encryption, the horn's stealth, became symbols of an outmoded system. They were effective when pitted against similar or lesser technologies, but rendered inefficient by the progress of military engineering and the expansion of operational scope elsewhere. The very ethos of Spartan secrecy, once a formidable advantage, became a detrimental factor in a more interconnected Greek world. Their closed communication systems, designed for internal control and covert operations, inhibited effective integration with allied forces. This lack of fluid information exchange often led to mistrust and miscoordination, undermining the strength of larger coalitions against common enemies. The inability to rapidly disseminate complex orders or gather intelligence from diverse fronts limited Sparta's ability to pivot strategically. While other states began employing more advanced semaphoric systems or specialized courier networks designed for speed and range, Spartan methods remained constrained by their inherent mechanical and human resource-intensive nature. This placed them at a distinct operational disadvantage. Ultimately, the rigid adherence to these traditional, less scalable communication methods contributed to Sparta's strategic atrophy. The mechanisms that once guaranteed security and surprise could not adapt to the demands of an expanding geopolitical landscape. The cost of their unique efficiency in specific scenarios was a broader inability to evolve and compete in a changing military environment. The Eurotas River flows silently through the Laconian plain, just as it did when Spartan scouts meticulously practiced their horn calls. The air still carries echoes but no message. The skytale, once a marvel of encryption, now lies only in historical texts, its intricate function understood, but no longer active. The landscape remains indifferent to the rise and fall of its inhabitants. This commitment to secrecy and the physical limitations of their communication tools illustrate a profound paradox. The same disciplined focus that forged an unparalleled military force also curtailed its capacity for adaptation. Their system, mechanically optimized for a specific set of problems, became inflexible in the face of evolving challenges, a testament to the double-edged sword of specialization. The Spartan solution to signaling across mountains without fire was a marvel of its era, a meticulously crafted system of cryptography, acoustics, and constrained visuals. It was built on the principles of discretion, precision, and human endurance. Yet, its inherent limitations, born from a dedication to an unwavering ideal, ultimately contributed to the system's eventual decline. The story of Spartan signaling offers a mechanical history lesson, how an optimal solution for one problem can become an impediment to future challenges. Their secure, yet rigid communication system ensured vital messages could pass unseen and unheard, but at what cost does unyielding adherence to tradition eventually render a perfectly engineered system obsolete?